Turning 70 felt like a milestone, one Eleanor thought she'd glide into with ease. But as she crossed that threshold, she was hit with a wave of realities no one had ever warned her about. Suddenly, life felt both simpler and more complex. What no one tells you about turning 70 is that it's not all rosy or as easy as they make it sound. Today, we're going to dive into 12 honest truths about life after 70, things I wish I had known earlier. Let's start with the first one. 1. Your body will surprise you, and not always in a good way. Eleanor had always prided herself on staying active, yoga in the mornings, walks in the park, and the occasional dance class. But when she turned 70, she woke up one morning with an unfamiliar ache in her hip. What on earth is this? She wondered, stretching it out, expecting it to disappear. Instead, it lingered. As the days went by, more small discomforts crept in. Her knees felt stiff, her back ached, and her wrists, oh, how they crackled. She realized that her body, once so resilient, was now reacting differently to the same activities she'd been doing for years. It wasn't that her body had failed her, it was simply adjusting. But no one had told her how sudden and sometimes jarring these changes could be. The days of bouncing out of bed without any creaking or groaning were gone. Eleanor wasn't alone in this, of course. Many women at this stage of life find themselves facing similar surprises. It's all part of the process of getting older, but it's something we don't often talk about openly. Start paying closer attention to how your body feels and adjust your activities accordingly. Incorporate gentler exercises that are still effective, like swimming, stretching, or chair yoga. Take the time to warm up properly before physical activity and invest in supportive footwear. These small changes can help reduce discomfort and keep you moving without as much pain. And most importantly, don't be afraid to listen to your body. Rest when needed. Eleanor found that by embracing these adjustments, she could still be active, just in a more mindful way. Yes, her body wasn't quite the same as it used to be, but she learned to work with it instead of against it. She even got a little thrill from trying new, low-impact activities like Tai Chi, which not only helped with her balance, but also gave her a sense of peace. Learning to work with your body's changes is a game changer. You can still stay active and healthy, but now it's about being kind to yourself. This mindset helps reduce frustration and promotes a more positive relationship with your physical self. 2. Your confidence in your own skin grows, even if your skin changes. The first time Eleanor noticed a wrinkle by her eyes, she paused in front of the mirror, running her fingers over the new line. How did this happen so fast? She thought, feeling a pang of surprise. Then came the gray hair, which she embraced with a little more grace. But the skin? The skin was something else. It wasn't just the lines. It was the texture, the dryness, the sagging in places she never expected. What no one tells you about turning 70 is that your body's outward changes are not something to be ashamed of. They're a mark of wisdom, experience, and survival. Eleanor initially felt a bit self-conscious, but over time, she realized her beauty wasn't wrapped up in perfection. Her confidence began to shift from how she looked to how she felt. She began to appreciate the stories her skin told, the laughter, the tears, the moments of triumph. These weren't just wrinkles. They were memories. First, embrace skincare that works for you. Use moisturizers that keep your skin hydrated and products that address your needs without overwhelming you. More importantly, let go of the need to look young. Try affirmations like, I am beautiful in every stage of my life. Acknowledge your beauty as it is today, with all its depth and richness. Eleanor learned that confidence wasn't about fighting aging. It was about accepting it and even celebrating it. Her friends started complimenting her radiant glow, and the more she accepted her changing body, the more she felt empowered by it. The truth was, confidence isn't rooted in youthful skin, but in the acceptance and love you give yourself. When you stop worrying about looking younger and start embracing the beauty of your age, you unlock a whole new level of self-love. Your body is your history, and it's worthy of respect. This shift in mindset doesn't just change how you see yourself, it changes how the world sees you, too. 3. Friendships change, and that's okay. When Eleanor was in her 50s, she had a circle of friends she saw regularly. Lunch dates, shared holidays, and deep heart-to-hearts. But when she turned 70, she began to notice a shift. Some friends had moved away. Others were busy with their own health issues, and some simply weren't as available. The days of spontaneous gatherings seemed to be behind her. At first, the shift in her social life left Eleanor feeling a little lonely. She missed the regular catch-ups and the easy closeness she had once shared with many. But what she learned, and what no one had warned her about, was that this was a new chapter in her friendships, not the end of them. Some relationships naturally fade as life moves forward, but new, more meaningful connections can blossom in unexpected places. Be proactive in nurturing relationships, but also allow yourself to release those that no longer bring you joy. Embrace new ways of connecting, whether it's through digital means, community groups, or reconnecting with old friends who've also evolved. It's okay to say no to people who drain you and yes to those who energize you. Eleanor started reaching out to people she hadn't spoken to in a while. She rekindled old friendships and created new bonds with people who shared similar interests and values. And in doing so, she discovered that not only was she not alone, she was surrounded by people who truly understood her and her journey. Embracing the changes in your social life can feel liberating. By letting go of the idea that friendships need to look a certain way, you make space for deeper, more fulfilling connections. In the process, you'll find a sense of community and support that fits your life today. 4. Society starts seeing you differently, but that's their problem, not yours. Eleanor walked into the grocery store one afternoon, and a well-meaning young cashier greeted her with a concerned look. "Do you need help with your groceries, ma'am?" she asked. Eleanor smiled and said, "No, thank you. I'm fine." But as she walked away, she caught a glimpse of herself in the reflection of the glass door. Was her age so obvious? It wasn't the first time Eleanor had experienced this type of treatment, where others began seeing her as frail or incapable simply because of her age. The truth? She wasn't fragile, and her value didn't diminish just because she had a few more years behind her. When people treat you as though you're weak or fragile because of your age, it's okay to speak up. Stand tall and remind them, in the kindest way, that you're just as capable as ever. Age is a number, not a reflection of your abilities or strength. Speak with confidence about your needs, and don't shy away from advocating for yourself when others make assumptions about what you can or cannot do. Eleanor began embracing this shift in perspective. Whenever someone underestimated her, she would calmly say, "I'm perfectly capable, thank you." And over time, she began to notice that not only did people stop treating her as if she needed extra help, but they started respecting her more. Standing your ground, when others make age-based assumptions, gives you the power to change how you're perceived. It strengthens your confidence and reminds you that, while others may see aging as a limitation, you can still see it as a privilege. Instead of feeling diminished, you feel empowered to continue leading the life you choose. 5. You stop caring about what others think, and it's liberating. One of the most profound changes that Eleanor experienced as she turned 70 was realizing how little she cared about what others thought of her. It wasn't that she had become cold or indifferent. She just didn't feel the same pressure to live up to society's expectations anymore. Eleanor noticed how often she had worried in her younger years about how others perceived her. Would people approve of her outfit? Her opinions? How much time she spent with friends versus family? But as she entered her 70s, Eleanor began to cherish the freedom of saying no without guilt, of wearing whatever made her feel comfortable, and of prioritizing her happiness above everything else. Start practicing intentional self-care. Let go of the desire to meet everyone else's standards and focus on what genuinely brings you peace. If you feel like wearing something that makes you happy, whether it's a cozy sweater, a bright scarf, or that quirky pair of shoes, go for it. Don't worry about whether someone else will approve. Your joy is enough. Eleanor started choosing things that felt right for her, not for anyone else. And slowly she felt lighter. She even started picking up hobbies just for herself, like painting or learning to play a musical instrument. She wasn't worried about how others would perceive her. She was too busy enjoying herself. Letting go of the constant need for approval is incredibly freeing. When you stop measuring your worth by others' standards, you open yourself up to more authentic and joyful living. You are worthy of your own approval. This shift leads to self-acceptance and happiness in ways you might not have experienced in your younger years. You finally get to live your life the way you want to. 6. Energy levels shift, but so do priorities. But turning 70 brought a surprising shift. The energy she once had wasn't gone, but it certainly didn't last as long. She found herself needing more rest, more naps, and more time to recharge. At first, Eleanor resisted this change. She thought, I should be able to do everything I used to do. She pushed herself hard to keep up with the same pace she had in her 50s, but quickly found herself feeling drained and overwhelmed. That's when Eleanor realized that it wasn't that her energy was gone. It had simply shifted. Begin focusing your energy on what truly matters. Instead of feeling exhausted by trying to do everything, prioritize the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. Let go of any guilt around needing rest. Your body is telling you that it's okay to slow down. Schedule time for yourself to recharge, whether it's through meditation, a warm bath, or a quiet walk in nature. Eleanor learned that slowing down didn't mean she was failing. In fact, it meant she was embracing this new chapter of life with wisdom. By embracing her need for rest, she found herself re-energized for the things that truly mattered, like spending quality time with her loved ones and enjoying hobbies that nurtured her soul. Giving yourself permission to rest and recharge frees you from the burden of feeling constantly busy. It allows you to savor life's moments more fully, knowing that you're taking care of your body and mind. Plus, the energy you do have is spent on the things that are truly worth it, creating a deeper sense of fulfillment and joy. 7. Your relationship with time shifts. When Eleanor turned 70, something subtle but powerful began to change. Time, once an abundant resource, suddenly seemed more precious. The days felt shorter, the years faster, and every moment seems to carry more weight. This wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It was just different. In her younger years, time felt endless. Weekends were about adventure, the work week about ambition, and every hour was filled with the promise of what was yet to come. But by the time she hit 70, Eleanor found herself thinking, where did the day go? Time seemed to be slipping away quicker than before. She felt a sense of urgency, not to get everything done, but to savor everything. To embrace this new relationship with time, start by prioritizing what truly matters to you. You don't have to do everything. You just have to choose what brings you joy. Create a list of the things that make you happiest. Spending time with family, taking walks, reading, or perhaps working on a hobby, and make them a priority in your day. Allow yourself to slow down, fully experiencing each moment without rushing to the next. Eleanor began scheduling her days with more intention. Instead of filling them with endless tasks, she made time for things that brought her peace, like gardening in the early mornings or sitting with a good book. She noticed that when she wasn't rushing through her days, she experienced them more fully. When you embrace the idea that time is precious, you become more present in each moment. You stop racing toward the next thing and start appreciating the now. This shift in mindset brings a sense of calm and peace, reducing the stress of trying to accomplish everything and helping you savor life more fully. 8. Downsizing your life feels more emotional than you thought. At 70, Eleanor began thinking about downsizing. Her home, which had been filled with family, laughter, and memories for decades, was now just her and a few cherished keepsakes. The thought of packing up years of accumulated belongings stirred something deep inside her. At first, Eleanor tried to tackle it methodically. She picked up a box, filled it with things she thought she could part with, and smiled as she moved it out the door. But then came the photos, the wedding pictures, the old family albums, the trinkets from her children's childhood. She found herself hesitating, feeling overwhelmed by the weight of each decision. Start small and tackle one area at a time. Begin with things that are clearly unnecessary, like old magazines or expired kitchen items. Gradually, as you get used to the idea of letting go, work through items with more emotional significance. It's okay to take breaks. Downsizing is as much an emotional journey as a physical one. Elena realized that downsizing wasn't just about creating space. It was about releasing the past to make room for new experiences. She found it helpful to remind herself that the memories she cherished weren't in the objects. They were in the moments and the people she loved. Letting go of physical items, especially sentimental ones, is difficult, but it also brings a sense of freedom. It's a way of embracing what's next without feeling weighed down by the past. Every item you release makes space for new memories, new joys, and the things that matter most now. 9. Love and companionship take on a new meaning. When Eleanor was younger, love and companionship were marked by grand gestures, passion, and the excitement of new beginnings. But at 70, she began to realize that love didn't have to be loud or dramatic to be fulfilling. Her relationship with love, both romantic and platonic, had evolved into something much deeper, richer, and quieter. Her marriage had changed too. Her husband, now retired, had more time at home, but their relationship no longer revolved around the hustle of raising children and managing careers. Instead, it was about finding joy in the small moments, making breakfast together, taking walks after dinner, and simply sitting in silence, enjoying each other's presence. Eleanor also found that her relationships with friends had changed, becoming less about social obligations and more about genuine connection. Take a step back from societal expectations and reflect on what companionship means to you today. It doesn't have to be defined by traditional milestones or the pace you once followed. Instead, cultivate relationships that enrich your life, whether that's through daily interactions with a spouse, meaningful connections with friends, or finding new communities that align with your passions. Eleanor found that by letting go of societal pressures around what love should look like at 70, she could enjoy relationships in a way that felt genuine and fulfilling. She no longer sought the excitement of new romantic adventures. Instead, she cherished the simple pleasures of sitting side by side, knowing that the love they shared was rich enough to last a lifetime. Understanding that love doesn't have to look a certain way frees you from comparing your relationships to others. You begin to see love as something that deepens with time, evolving into a more peaceful and meaningful connection. Letting go of expectations around love helps you experience it in a more authentic, fulfilling way. 10. You become more selective about what truly matters. As Eleanor eased into her 70s, she began to feel a profound shift in her priorities. In her younger years, she had said yes to almost everything: family obligations, social gatherings, community events. But at 70, she noticed something remarkable. She was becoming more intentional about how she spent her time. The days of spreading herself thin were over. Now she was learning to say no without guilt, and to invest her energy in what brought her joy and fulfillment. At first, saying no felt strange. There was a lingering fear that she might offend someone, that she'd miss out, or that others would think she was being selfish. But the more she practiced, the more she realized that her time was her own. And it was precious. Reflect on your current commitments and notice what feels draining versus what feels enriching. Make a list of the things you're doing simply out of obligation and consider whether they're truly worth your energy. Practice saying no gently but firmly. You don't have to justify your decision. Your time is yours to choose how you use it. Eleanor found that by selectively committing to things that truly mattered, whether it was family dinners, quiet afternoons with a book, or spending time nurturing her creative passions, she not only felt more at peace, but also had a greater sense of purpose. It wasn't about doing less. It was about doing what aligned with her values. Choosing to focus on what matters most gives you back control of your time and emotional energy. Instead of feeling overwhelmed or drained by obligations, you create space for meaningful experiences that add value to your life. This shift promotes a sense of inner peace and self-respect that becomes more enriching the older you get. 11. A sense of purpose becomes more important than ever. For Eleanor, finding a sense of purpose was always important, but it took on new meaning as she reached 70. In her younger years, purpose was often tied to career achievements, raising a family, or maintaining an active social life. But at 70, Eleanor discovered that true fulfillment came not from what she had done in the past, but from what she continued to do now, in ways that connected her to something larger than herself. She realized that purpose at this stage of life wasn't necessarily about starting a new career or reaching monumental milestones. It was about the smaller, more subtle things that brought her a sense of meaning, whether that was helping a friend in need, giving back to her community, or mentoring younger women. To discover or reconnect with your purpose, ask yourself, what makes me feel alive? It might be something you've always loved, like gardening or painting, or something entirely new, like volunteering or taking up a creative project. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It can be woven into everyday life. Eleanor decided to volunteer at a local community center, helping others who were navigating life transitions similar to her own. She realized that in helping others, she also helped herself, rediscovering her sense of connection to the world around her. When you find purpose, you create a sense of fulfillment that gives your life meaning. Whether it's a passion project or a small act of kindness, a purposeful life adds depth and satisfaction, making each day feel more meaningful. Purpose becomes the quiet force that guides you, giving you a sense of peace as you age. 12. You realize you're still growing, and that's the best part. Eleanor had always thought that growth was something you achieved in your youth. The new job, the family you raised, the hobbies you mastered. But as she crossed into her 70s, she realized that growth doesn't stop when you reach a certain age. It evolves. At 70, she began to grow in ways she hadn't expected. Her understanding of herself deepened, her relationships with others became richer, and she felt a renewed sense of curiosity about the world. Eleanor found herself reading more books about topics she'd never explored before, from philosophy to modern art. she took up digital photography, even though she'd never considered herself particularly tech-savvy. The idea of learning, evolving, and experiencing new things became more important than ever. Embrace a growth mindset by seeking out something new to learn or explore. This could be as simple as joining a book club, signing up for a class, or even learning a new skill like knitting or photography. Growth isn't about doing more. It's about expanding your horizons, no matter how small. For Eleanor, this meant dedicating time to her personal interests, exploring topics that intrigued her, and making new connections with people who shared similar passions. She realized that aging was not about becoming stagnant. It was about continuously reshaping herself and embracing the idea that growth is limitless. Growth in your 70s isn't about competing with the past. It's about embracing new possibilities. It's a freeing realization that you don't need to have it all figured out. You can continue to evolve, learn, and find joy in discovering new aspects of yourself and the world. This sense of growth fuels happiness and contentment, bringing a fresh sense of purpose and excitement to each day. So what do you think? Turning 70 doesn't have to be daunting. It's a chance to embrace life with even more passion and purpose. Keep growing, keep shining, and remember, you're not just aging, you're evolving. Drop a comment and share which of these truths hit home for you. We're in this together, strong,